some of that amazing. Look at the color on this sauce. How deep that is, how rich that is, how red, almost burgundy color. That's that long, slow cooking process. Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Food with Mike. I'm Mike. Today, we're making Sunday gravy. I was asked to make this by a viewer, and it's also because my wife asked me to make it, so it's perfect that I do it today. Look at all the meat we're putting in this thing. This is most of the meat. I got more meat over here. I got more meat here. Basically, an amazing meat sauce that a lot of Italian families have on Sundays. So stick around. I'll show you how we get that done. Okay, so we're going to start with the braciole. Braciole is basically it's like a rolled up piece of meat with some stuff inside. I'm going to show you what we do. I took a eye of round roast. All of this came from Walmart, by the way. I was asked to do it on the cheap. All of this came from Walmart. This is eye of round roast. I just cut small little steaks out of it, and then I'm going to just pound it out flat like this one. I already did this. I already did a bunch of other ones. And then we're going to fill it, roll it up, and tie it. I got my mallet here. Don't use the spiky part for this because then you'll just damage the meat. We want to bring this down to pretty thin, and we want to get it even all the way through. You can see that connective tissue right there. That's all going to cook out because this is going to cook for several hours in that tomato sauce with all the other meats. Okay, and when I do this, I'm kind of hitting it and pulling it down as I do it. Okay, that's where we want it to be, nice and thin. Okay, so I'm going to bring the other one over now. This is how we do it. First, we put parsley. You can do this any way you want. I do it this way. Then we put some garlic. We get some Parmesan. Fresh Parmesan. Don't use that stuff in a can. That won't work for this. Okay. And then I take a little prosciutto. I kick it up a little bit. A piece of prosciutto on each one. Just like that. And then we roll. Keep it tight. It's okay if a little bit of prosciutto comes out of there. It's got good flavor anyway. Now you notice I did not put salt or pepper in there because the prosciutto is pretty salty as it is. And the salt and the cheese is as well. No need to season the inside of this. Okay, now we're going to tie it. And this is the trick. If there's a tricky part to anything I'm doing today, it's this right here. Where did my knife go? It's over here. Okay, butcher's twine. You need a good amount of it. Okay, I'm going to come underneath it at this end of it. I'm going to come over top like this and through. It's going to go down. Then I'm going to come the other direction. And I don't push it down tight yet. That's a slip knot. I'm going to pull that tight, not too tight. I don't want to rip the meat. And then I'm going to lock it in with one more tie. And I'm leaving a good length here. Now this is the tricky part. Give yourself a good amount to work with. I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to come underneath with my hand, around, just like that. I'll do it a few times, and I'll do it on the next one so you can see how I do it. Okay, then we pull it tight. I'm only going to do it one more time on here. Hand comes underneath, around, make a loop, and put it through again. That is the only kind of tricky part to this whole thing. Once you get used to it, it's super easy. It's just a little bit of an awkward thing to do your first couple times. Okay, that creates a nice tight package. It doesn't have to be super tight, but if you're rolling a roast or anything like that, that's how you would do it. Same way. Now, when I come back through here, I'm going to cut about the same amount of length there so I can come all the way back. We're going to tie those two ends together. I'm going to come underneath here just like that. I want to make sure I'm around the end here. Just like that. Up around the top. And then same type of knot, slip knot. Lock it in place. Cut this excess off. And that's it. I'll do it one more time in this one so you can see it again. Yeah, this is my pile of meat. These are all the other pieces of brajol. This here is the butt piece of that eye of round roast. I'm just going to brown this off and cook it. It's fine. It's flavor. I'm not going to use it for anything else. It'll go right in the sauce. Okay, so again, around the back, down one time, opposite direction, cinch it down, lock it in. Okay. Bring the twine. I'm just doing this to show you guys. That way, hand goes underneath, around, make a loop, and catch the brajol. I'll probably do other roasts where I do that same exact tie, and I'll show you again when I do that how to do it. I can remember one time, the first time I learned this, I hadn't done this little knot trick, or this little tying trick, and my boss got really mad, my chef, because he was cutting tenderloin, whole tenderloins for a banquet, and he had to cut every individual string off of each piece. So again, come underneath that middle one. Like I said, it's okay if a little bit of that prosciutto is sticking out. It's gonna stay in here. It's fine. Well, would you get through there? Okay, there. Pinch it down. And that's it. Little package of meat. Now we're gonna do the meatballs. I have 1 pound of pork, 1 pound of ground beef, 80-20. I always use 80-20, 80-20. I'm going to season with a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper. There's really not a recipe to this. I just kind of eyeball everything. I get a good little, probably a tablespoon of garlic. I use a bunch of parsley. I use a good amount of fresh Parmesan. I'm going to start with 2 eggs. If I need more, I'll add. I probably will need to have a 3rd one. And then I use, and again, I got everything from Walmart today, Italian-style breadcrumbs. And the way I kind of regulate it is between the breadcrumbs and the egg, and that's kind of the tester part there. I'm going to get it all mixed up pretty good here with my hands before we shape them. If you saw my meatloaf video, it's pretty similar to that, but that I use specific amounts of stuff. I don't with this one. What you want to get to is a nice, good consistency. I'm going to add the egg. I know I'm going to need it. And I'm going to add more breadcrumb too. I like the flavor of it. Then what we do after this is we make them into balls and we, a little more breadcrumb. Don't be afraid of the breadcrumbs. Once they absorb all that moisture, it'll get a nice, good consistency for you. You want to work this when it's cold too. You don't want to have warm meat when you're doing this or it'll stick a lot worse than it already is. Okay, yeah, we're there. That's it. Okay, now as you can imagine, the next part is just to make balls. I like kind of a smaller ball. I don't like a big, huge meatball. About that big is perfect for me. So I'll get these done, and then we'll cook them off, and then they go in the sauce. I'm going to start with the brajol. Just going to put a little salt on them. Put them in the pan here. Hot oil, hot. This is regular olive oil. I don't want it too super hot, but I want to get some color on these. Don't want to crowd the pan. I'm using a good amount of oil here because I've got to be able to get these meatballs all cooked off. Now you notice I don't use a non-stick pan. I don't like non-stick for this because I want to take all the drippings that I get out of there, deglaze with some red wine, and that's going to go into my sauce as well. Not the fat. I'm going to take the fat off of it. But you'll see when we get to that point. We get to this point where they get some color on them. We're not cooking them here. All we're doing is getting color on them. They're going to cook in the sauce. So this is a little bit time consuming. But I got to do all the meatballs. All the meat are going to get cooked off ahead of time before they go into the sauce. Like as far as the color on them anyways. All right, so I got all the brajol done. This is just that end piece. Now we get the meatballs going. I just want to get color on the outside of every part of these because that's the flavor that's going to go into this sauce. Okay, so now for this, I know I always say I don't like extra virgin olive oil. For this part, I use an extra virgin because I want the flavor, but I'm not doing it at high heat. This is a very low heat. We're going to start the sofrito in here, okay? That's going to be onions, garlic, and a little bit of carrot. But I always, that's a little too hot. I always start with onion. Not trying to really get any color. If I get a little color on this, it's not a big deal. What you don't want color on is the carrot, or the garlic rather. We just want a low heat on this. Add a little salt. It'll help bring out the water. And I can add the carrot now too. Now the reason I use a little bit of carrot, I've taken one carrot and grated it on a cheese grater. I do that for the sugar that's in that. Sometimes people will put sugar into their Sunday gravy and their tomato sauce because it can get a little bit acidic. This will avoid that. You're not going to taste carrot at all, but it will help fight through some of the acidity that ends up in your sauce when you're making it, because it's going to cook for hours and hours and hours. It's going to go for at least 4, probably 5 hours. So we just want to sweat these down a little bit, soften them, get them. Oh, I missed a piece of onion there. It's okay. It'll cook out. Okay, now I'll add the garlic, and I add about a head of garlic into the pan. And again, no color on this. We do not want color on garlic. If you do, it'll get really bitter. And it'll also burn your extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil has a very, very strong flavor that I do not want in my sauce. Okay, now I'll also add a little bit in this stage right now, just a little bit of crushed red pepper. Just a little bit. A little bit goes a long ways in this. It's about a pinch of it. Now I'm going to add 4 28-ounce cans of crushed tomato. And I'm going to add some tomato puree probably too. Probably going to need it. Once I get all this going, we'll get the meat in there and we'll let it sit for hours and hours and hours. Okay, so I've browned off all the meats. I'm left with this in my pan. I'm cooking with a Malbec. It's a red wine. Anytime you're cooking with wine, you want to make sure it's something you'll drink, because if it tastes bad to drink, it's going to taste bad to eat. And what I like to do, if you see inside this can, there's all that stuff. I'm going to put the wine right in there, some of it. I'm going to swirl it around. Get all that stuff out of there. We're going to deglaze the pan with what's here. Because all of this in here is called the fond, and that's all flavor. Some people use water. I'm like, why use water when I can use wine to get this out of the cans? It's going in the sauce anyway. And we deglaze. Get all that stuff out of there. That's going in our sauce. That's all the brown bits that came up when we were browning off the meats. All right, so now I'm going to put this right into my sauce. So I do 2 things. One, I get all that flavor into my meat, into my sauce, and I clean my pan at the same time. That's the first. I'll use a rubber spatula to get all that out of there in a minute. I want to show you another little trick I do. I grated this cheese myself, and these are the end pieces right by where the name Parmigiano Reggiano is. I put that right into the sauce. A little bit of cheese on top, just a little bit. And then I take a bundle of basil, I tie it off, throw it in here, and then I tie it to the handle here so I can fish it out later. I don't want to keep that in there forever. I just want to get the flavor, and I don't want to be eating pieces of basil as I'm eating my pasta, because it turns black and it gets nasty looking. So now I'll put all the meat in here, and it'll simmer super low and slow for about 4 to 5 hours. This here is what I want to see when it's cooking. I just want light bubbles. I don't want a rapid boil, and I'm stirring it frequently. And also, you can see I put the spoon here. Like I said in one of my last videos, you don't want to put the spoon in here and leave it, because then your sauce or soup, whatever it is, will taste like a wooden spoon. That's not what we're looking for. You also want to get down to the bottom and scrape it so that it doesn't collect at the bottom and burn. It's hard to do this when you're stirring at the same time. Okay, so I was asked to show how to cook dry pasta. This is for those people who are new to cooking. I was showing how to know when it's done. Now, I got rigatonis here, again, from Walmart. I got no problem with Walmart. I shop there all the time. The basic principle for dry pasta is for every pound of pasta, you want a gallon of water. And I season my water to taste like the ocean. So this water will season your pasta, okay? Rapidly boiling water, and I move it a lot. I don't want it to stick to the bottom at all. And I'm just doing a pound for the 4 of us in my family. And whatever I've got left over of that sauce, I'm going to put it in containers and freeze. And then when we want to have pasta some night, we've got some of the best sauce you could possibly have. So on a Wednesday night sometime, I'll pull out a thing of sauce, and we've got that Sunday gravy for just a regular, work week dinner. Don't stick your hands in boiling water like I do. The big question I was asked was, how do you know when it's done? If you go to Italy, they'll say you want it done al dente, which is true. And they say it's done. That means it's to the bite or something like that. Nobody really knows what that means if you're not from Italy. I say cook it till you like it, where it's at. When it's to the doneness you want, it's done. So I think we're close right now. Yeah. Another minute or two, but when it's to the chewiness that you want, you're done. You don't have to overthink it. Don't think you're doing it wrong. Take a piece out and taste it. That's how you know if pasta is cooked. So here we go with our pasta. I'm going to put some sausage, a couple meatballs, some braciole. I'm going to let the ribs go a little bit longer, but we're hungry. We want to eat. Some of that amazing. Look at the color on this sauce. How deep that is, how rich that is, how red. Almost burgundy color. That's that long, slow cooking process that we put it through. And that braising of all that meat. Throw some Parmesan and some parsley just for color. I've already tasted it. I know it's good. Like I said, the ribs have a few more minutes to go. Some parsley. So there's your dish. Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining me today. I had a lot of fun doing this. This is honestly one of my favorite things to eat. It's so flavorful. You have to try this. Just brown off your meats, sweat your vegetables, slow, and let it cook over a long period of time. Like I said, my ribs aren't done to where I want them. I want it to be able to fall off the bone, melt in your mouth, tender. That'll just be a little bit longer. Give this a shot at home. Let me know what you think of it. If you like the episode, give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Helps me out immensely. And if you like this, please come back again next time. I'll see you all later. Have an awesome day.